Normally here at Channel 12, we're out at public school buildings, highlighting the people, programs, and special events that are happening around the Des Moines Public Schools. However, today we're taking more of an introspective look as we celebrate a very special birthday. Hi, I'm Channel 12's Kate Moore, and join me now as we look back to celebrate the past 10 years of Des Moines Public Schools Channel 12 on this edition of The Spotlight. The fall of 1999 brought with it a new school year, as well as a new way for the people of Des Moines to see what was going on inside of the schools, all throughout the district. That October, Channel 12, the district's 24-hour cable channel, was born. It featured news stories hosted by students about the many exciting events happening in our schools. Now let's look at where this idea came from and why, 10 years later, it's still going strong.
By the time I started with the Des Moines Public Schools, we were already on the air with nothing but school board meetings. And we had access to a cable channel because the city had negotiated with the cable company of the time a franchise that said that they should provide a channel for the city, for the Des Moines Public Schools, for the colleges, and a channel for public access. And so we had those, but we didn't do any programming. After we got more comfortable with the ability to create video, we came up with the idea to use that channel because it was a great resource. And we created Classroom Connection, which was a half-hour talk show hosted by Ruth Ann Gaines, who's a drama teacher at East High School. We chose the half-hour talk show format because it was real easy to fill a half an hour with a talk show because you didn't have to write a half an hour's worth of script. You had to write enough questions to prompt a half an hour's worth of conversation. And Ruth Ann was really good about creating a great conversation with people from around the school district. We featured various departments, we featured various programs, issues addressing the Des Moines Public Schools, and we had several seasons, several years of Classroom Connection. One of the things we did at the end of Classroom Connection was later to be very important in the progression of TV in the Des Moines Public Schools, which was a segment called What's Right. What's Right, by the way, came from the idea that everyone was telling everybody what's wrong with the Des Moines Public Schools. So we decided to do 5 to 6 minutes at the end to talk about what's right in the Des Moines Public Schools. And these were short news stories that didn't fit within the talk show format. So it was tagged on to the end of about 20 minutes, 25 minutes of talk show. And we would do stories about good things happening in the Des Moines Public Schools. It was what's right that led eventually to Channel 12. As we were doing Classroom Connection, we got the idea to do some research, probably the research we should have done to begin with, into the viewing habits of parents in the Des Moines Public Schools. And we found out that we were going about it all wrong. We were setting up a half an hour 4 or 5 times a week for them to come and watch our show. But this was at a time when TV audiences were fragmenting. Parents didn't have time to sit down when we wanted them to watch our show, Classroom Connection. We needed to figure out a way to gain a bigger audience for our message. So we decided to cancel Classroom Connection. And we came upon the idea of talking to the different TV channels and seeing if we could produce small TV segments that were a lot like What's Right, and see if they could air them. And we didn't have to go too far, because our first meeting was with KCCI, Channel 8, who jumped at the chance to partner with us. And we created this set of video news stories called School Breaks, which we produced and edited. We wrote them, and we provided them to Channel 8, and they ran them twice a week on News Channel 8 This Morning. We hit upon the idea of having students do our on-air anchoring of those school breaks. And so we set about auditioning students, and we actually had students from 4th grade through 12th grade. So we had a mixture of some elementary students, some middle school, and some high school students. And we auditioned them, and we found kids who were really good at reading the news stories. And they were our hosts for School Breaks. We decided that because we thought people out there listening to the TV, watching the TV, would really enjoy seeing the kids do the news, more than some administrator or some, nicely coiffed anchor in his 30s who looked very professional. This was, after all, news about the Des Moines Public Schools, about kids. And so it made sense to us to have kids tell everybody about what was going on in the schools. We still did all the writing of the scripts, and we did all of the editing and chose the stories. And the kids were our face, were our anchors. Even though we were getting a much bigger audience on News Channel 8 This Morning, one of the frustrations was that each story that we were doing was airing only once. When we were finishing our second year of School Breaks, the cable company was undergoing a major change where digital cable was coming on, and they were adding a lot more channels to basic cable. And they reshuffled their lineup. And where we used to have the Des Moines Public Schools and TLC on one channel, they said, we're going to split you up. We're going to move TLC, and we're going to move the Des Moines Public Schools from Channel 4 to Channel 12. And by the way, Des Moines Public Schools, you're all alone on Channel 12. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Which was, to begin with, rather intimidating, but also, after that first blush of intimidation, you realize, we have a resource here that is invaluable.
The Des Moines Public Schools has a new cable TV news channel. You'll see it on Channel 12 when your neighborhood is converted to the new digital technology. If you have not yet been converted, you can see a preview of the Channel 12 news on Cable Channel 4, beginning October 18th, Monday through Friday, from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m., and from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. And you can still see your favorite primetime TLC programs when they are rebroadcast beginning at 10 p.m. Tune in, we think you'll like it.
What was big at the time was CNN headline news. And on CNN headline news at the time, if you had tuned in at 3 minutes after the hour, you would see a story. If you had tuned in a half an hour later, you would have seen that exact same story. If you had turned in another half an hour later, that exact same story had happened. It was a loop. And I said, why don't we use that as a model and create a loop of stories that would repeat? And rather than relying on people to think of Channel 12 as a destination, to say, we have to stop and watch Channel 12 now, we decided to be there whenever they were surfing. We decided to make Channel 12 a constant presence, so that whenever people were surfing around looking for something to watch, they could stop and see what was ever on the air at the time. And eventually, they'd get around to seeing pretty much everything that was on the air at any given time. I was a one-man TV station, a lot. Occasionally, we would have people that would help who were either interns or were staff people who'd help parts of the time. But for a long period of time, Channel 12 looked like a big deal TV station when it was one guy doing all the writing and all the shooting and the graphics and everything. Yeah.